Projects like this really bring the community together. These are opportunities to provide not just traditional transportation, but non-traditional transportation. That's economic prosperity, that's community cohesion, it's history. This project actually has a little bit of everything associated with it.
Wow, so that was a fantastic video to see the opening of the old 7 Mile Bridge project. It was a great event, and it's been a great project, one that the department just completed. And it has been a long journey for us. But Pablo, I'm so glad that we get to talk about it today and reflect back on the project. You know, it's been 10 years, I think possibly more, since we started working on that project. Thinking back, I believe you were project manager at that time and are now the district bridge maintenance engineer responsible for all of the bridges in District 6, Miami-Dade and Monroe counties. And but it must feel wonderful to complete this project, which is really unique for the department, with the restoration of a portion of the old 7 Mile Bridge.
Well, Barbara, yes, we did it. We finally finished. And, you know, I feel good. You must be very proud. We started a long time ago, more than 10 years ago. And you as a district cultural resources coordinator must feel very good about it. And this has been one of the most important projects you've worked in your professional career. And you brought the idea of involving outside agencies early in the design process so they can work together with us, so we can make sure that we not only were going to deliver a successful project, but that we were going to be careful with the historic nature of the bridge. So yes, you know, several other offices help us, and you know, throughout the whole project, we were able to do some videos and have a lot of information there. And I remember one day we were at Pigeon Key, and I asked you, Barbara, because I think you have a lot of history on the bridge, and I asked you, can you please tell me some of that history? And I think we should look at that now.
The FEC Railway that went through the Florida Keys operated for 23 years, from about 1912 to about 1935. And then the 1935 Labor Day storm was the storm that caused significant damage to the railway, primarily in the Middle Keys, and took the railway out of operation at that time. The railway had been operating both as a commercial and a passenger rail, but was already in receivership at that time, and Monroe County and the state of Florida, the country, were in the depths of the Depression. Monroe County and Key West were once again cut off from the mainland, and the transportation decision had to be made in order for the county to survive. The decision by the FEC was not to rebuild the railway, and in 1936, the railway rights-of-way which were valued at approximately $10 million, were sold to the state of Florida for $640,000. The acquisition of the FEC rights-of-way led to the next phase of engineers that worked on this bridge, and that was for the railroad-to-road conversion, which is also part of its National Register listing and was also a complex engineering feat that was done in a very short period of time. So in 1936, the State Road Department began converting the railroad bridges to roadway bridges, including the 7 Mile Bridge. And that was led by Chief Engineer B.M. Duncan. The railroad-to-road conversion consisted of placing I-beams and widening out the foundation for a roadway that had two 10-foot lanes, one in either direction, and the railroad tracks being reconverted for use as guardrails. The project was completed in just 16 months. And on March 29th, 1938, for the first time, you could drive from Miami to Key West without having to take a ferry. The opening ceremony for that roadway, the overseas roadway, was right here where we're standing at the top of Pigeon Key, right here on the 7 Mile Bridge. It was a ceremony that was attended by many dignitaries, including not only from Monroe County, but from Miami-Dade County and Broward County, as everyone was very happy to be reconnected to the mainland, since the roadway was really a lifeline for Monroe County and Key West.
Well, Barbara, that was great history. And every time that I hear you talk about the history of this bridge, I learn something new. And I realize what you're trying to, do with these videos is try to preserve the history of engineering. And, both Foran from BCC, the engineer of record, he had a lot of challenges to overcome during this project, and, it was great.
Yes, and we have some great footage of Bob. We had the opportunity to talk to him out on the project site and hear from him about some of the challenges of this project. And we also had the chance to hear from Caleb Kratza. Caleb is a construction project manager with SECRA. And we've got some great footage of both of them talking about working on this project, what challenges they encountered as they tried to restore this really important bridge.
Hi, I'm Bob Foran. I'm the engineer of record for this rehabilitation project and with BCC Engineering. The purpose of this project was first and foremost to restore safe access to Pigeon Key. The bridge was in such a state of deterioration that there was concern about emergency vehicles or maintenance vehicles, anything of that nature to get out to Pigeon Key. So that's what really started the whole project. And from there, of course, everything that got folded in due to the unique nature of the site, the historic significance of the bridge, the environmental sensitivity of the area, all these things led to where we're at today. Oftentimes I'm asked what surprised me most about this project. I would say first and foremost, the nature of the deterioration of the structural steel was very impressive. You can get out there prior to construction and look at the bridge and look at the steel, see the pack rust, see some of the section loss in the members, but until you get underneath there and construction starts and actually cleans up these members and exposes the deficiencies, you really have a limited idea of what could really be expected. So when we got down there below the bridge after the steel was cleaned and saw that you could put your finger through the web of the steel girder, or you saw that the bearings were almost hanging on by a thread, that was very impressive. I guess the other aspect I found surprising was just on the other side, the non-engineering side of this project. I always knew, having done bridge repair projects down here in the Keys, that the local community, they care very strongly about their infrastructure, but I had no idea the impact that this bridge had as far as being a focal point, a fixture in the community, both at the local level as well as the state level, and then the international level. When people come from overseas to vacation in the Keys, the old 7 Mile Bridge was a focal point for them. So I really, having driven down through the Keys 1,000 times, been in the bridge industry, driven by this bridge and really not paid it a whole lot of mind, now being involved deeply in a rehabilitation project at this level and seeing the effect that this bridge has in the community was surprising to me and one of the most gratifying parts of the project. Oftentimes I'm asked about lessons learned on a project like this. You would think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of things that can be learned and folded into future projects, and that's for certain is true with this job. I would say the major lesson learned that I took away from this was the level of coordination required for a project of this scale, and the level of coordination that needs to be started early on in the process, particularly on the environmental side. Setting up a project to be successful and not be hindered by environmental restrictions or any issues down the line, framing the job so it was constructible yet permittable. Secondly, when you're involved with a bridge that has such a historic significance, the early coordination with historic resources, getting feedback early on in the design process is a lessons learned that we feel like we took away, we can apply to any future job that involves a structure of historic significance. One of the key challenges of this job was the nature of the environmental sensitivity of the area. We're in the Florida Keys, a marine sanctuary. The bridge rehabilitation required a lot of work be done below the bridge or from equipment that was accessing the bridge from below. So early on in the design process, led by the department's project manager, Pablo Orozco, there was a level of coordination done with the permitting agencies to make sure they had the information they needed so we could assemble a permit that could cover any aspect of the job. So we like to say we permitted the Cadillac even though the contractor might use the Yugo.
So everything that is manufactured for the bridge is manufactured right here on site. We make all the plates, all the clips, all the angles are drilled, cut. One particular piece that was a little challenging on the project was a T-beam. They are the knee braces for the support of the floor beams that support the road deck. So these T-beams are no longer manufactured like they were, 100 years ago or 60 years ago. This little robot you see behind me, not quite set up yet. They're on lunch break, but this will actually ride and drive itself automatically. It'll roll down the beam, and there's 2 plasma torches set up, so they'll actually cut in tandem right down the center, exactly where we position them to give you the T. But it's a pretty neat little robot, and it's a big time saver. Plus the quality of the cut is, as you can see, is very straight and very clean, and there's no operator error or no fidgeting or moving around. It's just a straight, clean cut all the way down the beam, the whole 40 some feet. So here we have a Kinetic K5000 plasma drill that we brought in special for the project. Basically erected it right here in the parking lot at the foot of the bridge. This machine has cut all of our plate, cut and drilled all of our plate that we have been using on the project to replace the old corroded, gusset plates that were no longer structurally adequate.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear Bob Foran talk about some of the challenges working on this bridge. I know that as the engineer of record, he provided a lot of support to this project, making decisions all along the way, even through construction. And I love the video, having the chance to see Caleb talk about the steel cutting machine. That robot is really cool. I found it really interesting. I thought that was really neat, seeing that on the project. As far as I knew, that's not something that we normally do on a construction project, fabricating the parts on site.
You're right. Yeah, we normally don't bring the fabrication shop to the site. In this case, this robot, we brought it here, and it was very key to be able to complete this project, because not every steel member that was fabricated was the same. And you have to take measurements, and you had that ability to just run to the bridge, come back, and be able to fabricate the member needed.
Well, and another interesting aspect of the project, of course, is the rails that were restored. Old 7 Mile Bridge is unique in terms of having the old railroad tracks be part of the rails on either side of the bridge. And I know when we were out in the field, we talked about that a little bit. I think we have a little bit of footage of you talking about that, and we could take a look at it.
Something interesting about this bridge, once it was compared to a roadway, the original railings of the roadway bridge were the actual rails that brought the train, and whatever was collected from the different sections of the rail system at that time was what was placed on each side of the bridge as railings. Now, those railings are the original railroad tracks that you will see when you come by the bridge. But then, current standards, and to make it safer for pedestrians, for the bridge users, we needed to install safer railings. And that's what you will see now, the, silver colored railings that you will see there. And that way, you're away from the old railings, and also you're protected. You cannot go through there.
So that's really interesting about the rails that were used on this bridge. And it's great to hear you're explaining how those rails were very carefully evaluated as part of this project, so that we can make decisions piece by piece about what needed to be restored. Some other aspects about this bridge that were also really interesting from a historical perspective were the rivets. We had tens of thousands of rivets, and as you know, we had to evaluate those and make decisions along the way about rivet replacement, how to handle the rehabilitation or replacement of the rivets. There were other aspects of this historic bridge as well. The paint color was something that we spent time on. The sealant color for the pavement was something else that we evaluated, and also I-beam replacement. As you mentioned, we brought them in very early. They normally aren't, looking at the plans from a very early stage, but we did ask for the DHR, the Division of Historical Resources, to partner with us and to look at the plans as we were developing them and making decisions, so that we would have their concurrence as we move forward, and they agreed. And so they helped review the 60 and 90% plans, and then as we continued in construction, that cultural resource process is a consultative process, and we continued to consult with them. And so we were able to go back and coordinate with them very quickly during construction.
The contractor came out with this hanging platform and evaluated the structural condition of the bridge to be able to install this platform that allow us to take the people into this platform under the bridge to look at the bridge, very closely. And, we were able to show them the challenges. We were able to show them the engineering that we wanted them to learn. And right there under the platform, we were able to show them how they install this, jacking system to be able to replace the steel members. So, we were able to bring young engineers, and many other officers from DOT.
Yes, I was glad to be able to participate in that too, and help mentor staff and bring several offices out there. As you know, we had the environmental management office was able to go out and take a look at the project. We had trainees, including some from the maintenance office. I believe the professional services office was also able to go out and look at the project, and I was able to take a trip out there with our attorneys from the legal office. They don't normally have the opportunity to get out there in the field, and they worked for many years on the agreements with the City of Marathon and with Monroe County, with their partners on this project. And it was a great opportunity for them to be able to get out in the field and actually see and put their hands on the project and what was being restored. And as you said, to get on those platforms and be able to see up close what was being worked on, and also to see the environmental benefits of having the platform, the coordination that we've had, with the DHR, the decision making along the way, and how our environmental staff work so closely with our maintenance division and construction staff to work on the project and to achieve this restoration.
And Barbara, we had such a great opportunity of having a brand new secretary, Stacy Miller, and we were able to take her to the project site and look at the bridge, and she was so enthusiastic about it that she was able to bring the whole FDOT executive team and all the district secretary to the project, to showcase, the history of the bridge and the history of this great project that we have. Let's hear from her.
So I had the honor of being able to cut the ribbon for the old 7 Mile Bridge, although I really didn't get to participate in all of the facets of the project. It was exciting to be there at the end and cut the ribbon and really celebrate such a success story for the Florida Keys. I also had the opportunity to bring the entire executive team for the Florida Department of Transportation down to the Keys and walked through the entire job site. We walked through the island. We got a tour of the construction activity. Although it was winding down, it was still very exciting. Working with the team and having our staff be able to present such a wonderful project and such an iconic structure, something that's truly Florida and truly the Keys.
Well, it's been wonderful having the opportunity to reflect back on this project, something that we worked on together for the past 10 years. And it's been great working with you and your team on this bridge restoration. Looking back on the project, is there anything in particular that resonates with you?
Well, it is very interesting how we went from a bridge being closed now and what was done, for the public, that seeing our kids community very happy and enjoying the beauty of walking on the bridge, biking on the bridge. And what is really impressive to me is the amount of people that this bridge has attracted, throughout the years, but especially since we finished the project. And the bridge is open, you see everybody enjoying walking and having a good time. And at the end, we look into engineering, we look into the whole project thing, but once you see that rewarding of people enjoying what you did, that's, I guess, is the most important part.